It's me, your host, Trevor T., host of the Stay in the Game podcast, physical therapist and business owner of Form and Function Physical Therapy in Rancho Cucamonga, California. Hey, welcome back to the pod, everybody. Wanted to get into a few kind of topical topics. So right now, rolling into September, our area, school's back in for at least the last 6 weeks. First couple of weeks for those of you around the country that get started after Labor Day. So welcome back to normalcy. This is, summer being over is kind of one of those transition periods, and that transition for kids can be a little bit stressful. So I wanted to hit some topics specifically related to backpack, sitting, posture, neck issues, the things that we actually start to see about this 6-week spot or so into the school year, because that level of repetitive stress of just getting back into the routine of sitting and getting in the classroom and lugging a backpack around, things start to go haywire around this time. So same thing happens. You get back to the gym, and if you take it slow and you work your way in, usually it's around that 6-week mark where you've actually developed enough stress over time where ligaments and tendons start barking and protesting. So same thing's happening with your student. So wanted to hit a couple topics here. Invite you to first get in touch with us a bit more. Come check us out on YouTube. Follow us on social media. Check out our blog. Find us on Google. And give us some feedback. We want to hear kind of some of the topics you want to hear from us, or from me in particular, a 21-year veteran of the physical therapy wars, 15,000 plus patients seen in my career, very little I haven't seen, very little to nothing that I don't have an opinion on. So if you want to get my 2 cents on any specific topic, go ahead and reach out through any one of those methods. We'd love to hear from you. And if you've got that question, I bet thousands of others are wondering the same exact things. Hit us up. So let's jump right in. Like I mentioned, 6 weeks is that mark. So what is the significance of that 6-week mark? Well, it's time on tension. It's load over time. What you start to see is, kids in general, like everybody just bangs on them, and your mom probably did the same thing with you as far as sit up straight, pull those shoulders back. Right now, there's several other factors that are going into kind of even our current, more modern students' lives, with them getting devices at a younger age, whether that be the iPad or the phone. It's how they're communicating. It's how they're interacting with the world. It's how they're looking at Reels and TikToks and checking out YouTube videos. So they're constantly flexed in this forward head posture. So forward head means basically if you were to stand upright with a plumb line down your side, what you would want to see is that line go through center of your ear, the center of your shoulder, the center of your hip, and right behind your ankle bone. So if we could find that perfect plumb line posture, that forward head posture means that ear hole sits somewhere forward of that shoulder. So forward head posture actually turns into a few separate things. What you get is lower cervical flexion, so the base of the neck, where you see that hump start to develop in folks in their 50s and 60s. That hump area, it's flexed. So you see this begin to protrude a bit more. So that lower cervical flexion means segments are pushed forward. Well, that actually can have an effect on a few different structures. One is the disc. And generally speaking, in teenagers, you're not really suspecting a disc problem, a herniated disc, a disc bulge, but time on tension means that those things may show up in your 30s, or in particular in your 40s, with these disc-related degenerative changes. But what we see in students is that these ligaments take a bit of a beat. So getting into proper posture, we can stack up on our joints, give some of the ligamentous structures a break. The muscles aren't pulling as hard. So the same thing is now we have that 10-pound bowling ball on top of this structure. And if it's constantly forward, these neck muscles are working extra hard. We're no longer balanced on that stack of vertebrae. We're forward, and those muscles are just turned on. Some interesting studies that we've seen, and actually did this experiment way back when I was a student too many years ago, that we did EMG studies. So we'd actually see what is the muscle activity when we got into different postures. What's the electrical output of these muscles? So it just tells us how much are these muscles firing to hold that head up when we get into different positions. And once we get beyond 2 inches of that forward head, man, it lights up like a Christmas tree. So much electrical activity, so much muscle activity. And these muscles are aerobic. They should be able to hold us over time. But aerobic muscles, despite having some capacity to do long holds and maintain posture over a long period of time, there's a breaking point. So if these muscles start to get weak, that's where the stress to ligaments, tendons, disc, and some of these other structures start to get involved. So the importance of proper posture is huge. So if you find that you've got a student that has less than optimal posture, and you're constantly getting on them, well, now may be the time to get a thorough and proper personalized evaluation from a physical therapist, a movement specialist like myself, to figure out, all right, is this coming from upper back? Is the chest starting to get tight? Are the lats or certain other structures starting to get involved? And we can go to work and create a personalized plan to perfect that posture. The other things that when we start kind of banging on posture, and there's an inevitable question that people start to have, are those braces any good? Those little oval 8s that wrap around your shoulders and pull those shoulders back? I mean, because it puts you in the right position, right? Isn't that better for you at least? Well, I mean, better in what way? What we're really truly doing at that point is better in what way? I mean, really, the oval 8 is going to do some work in terms of getting your shoulders into a proper position, and it may look aesthetically better, but what we're not doing is actually using any of your postural muscles to put you into the proper position. And that's really what we're looking for, is your body actually doing its job correctly. So truly, my biggest issue with braces in general are that when you put on an external support, really what you stop using is that internal structure. So as you rely on a brace, you as a unit become weaker. So if I have something to hold my shoulders back, those muscles that do that job are no longer doing that job. They're never even asked to do it because now we're hanging out on a strap. Those muscles become incredibly weak. They begin to atrophy. There's less neurologic asking that muscle to fire. So a lot of times you get a little bit of, I guess you would call it sensory motor amnesia. Those muscles actually forget to do the job that they were once asked to do. So by wearing them for a long extended period of time, you could be asking yourself to actually create a very permanent problem. So I don't love braces for the back. I don't love braces for the knee or ankle. What we've got to do is make sure that that structure does what it's meant to do, that the surrounding supportive structures with the muscles, ligaments, tendons, otherwise are functioning at their optimum, so you can function as an organism at its optimum. That's really truly what we're looking for. So I can go on and on about braces, but I don't want to bore you. I mean, braces have their place. If we've truly ripped or torn something and we need some external support, cool. It's there for a reason. But if it's something your body should be able to handle, then we need to get away from the brace ASAP. So some of you may be asking, so what is it that my student, my child can be doing to combat some of this without having to go to a physical therapist, a chiropractor, a doctor, or actually jump online and start kind of figuring this stuff out on your own and getting even more confused than you are? So the biggest thing that we start to see is that sitting starts from the foundational base. We're sitting with your butt on a seat, the hips at 90 degrees, potentially more or less. But if we're in that position with that sitting position and the knees are up, the hip flexors are likely getting shortened. So when we stand, it means that it's going to pull the pelvis forward and put a ton of stress across the lower back. Well, that's not great when we're toting a backpack around. So what could you be doing at home to alleviate some of the kind of long-term issues associated with sitting? So there's a couple things. One, and this one can be a little bit controversial, some people love to go into a cobra pose. So if you've ever seen in yoga, you lay on your stomach, you leave your hips on the ground, and you press up with your arms and you go a little bit into a back bend. Well, people love to do that for lower back issues for a couple of different reasons. Some people seem to think, and in my opinion, mistakenly so, that can relocate a bulging or herniated disc. One, I disagree with that thought process. But number two, there's a reason it actually does provide some relief to lower back injured folks. And it's, in my opinion, you're actually getting some stretch out of your hip flexor. That shortened muscle from sitting actually finally gets stretched. And to me, hip flexor stretching needs to be the number one thing that I've seen in students that A, sit too much, B, are a little more sedentary, they don't get out and get proper activity. But the problem is, I actually see this in high-level athletes as well. So truly, I think sitting has become a big problem when it comes to our hip flexor length. I think stress also is related to this because the hip flexors, just like people say, hey, I hold all of this tension in my upper trap and shoulders, the hip flexors are another location that are constantly hyperactive. They're constantly firing. They're constantly shortening. And to me, it's the same kind of process. If somebody is injured in some way, I sprain an ankle, my body's going to react in the same way as if somebody came up behind me and startled me. If I have injured tissue, my body has this withdrawal response. So if somebody comes behind you and says boo, and you are jumpy, you see those shoulders elevate and raise, you cringe a little bit. That cringe response, the chest starts to round, tighten, and the shoulders begin to round. You lower yourself to the ground. Those hip flexors begin to kind of fire, and that's that fight or flight kind of response that the body has. So it's very predictable. I get to see this across any injury you can name. I mentioned a sprained ankle. It can be lower back pain. It could be truly chronic tension and stress. It could be anxiety. The body is very predictable when it comes to response to stress, whether that be injury stress or emotional stress. So hip flexors get tight, traps get tight, pecs get tight. These are muscle groups we need to constantly be focused on in terms of maintaining their proper length, tension relationships, and down regulating their hypersensitive nature. So one thing we do a lot with it in clinic is something called a pressure point release. So it's actually getting directly to that muscle and providing deep pressure and looking for these trigger points, areas that are intensely painful when you contract, and just waiting them out and waiting for those tissues and muscles to begin to melt. Then we can go to work actually beginning to stretch them. It's one of the reasons many people feel like stretching really never works for them, that things stay chronically tight, is that it's not just that muscle is shortened, it's constantly hyperactive, and we have to find a way to downregulate it. And as I mentioned, pressure point is an amazing way to do it. There's multiple other ways to downregulate the nervous system. Some is PEMF and going a very low frequency like 7 hertz. There's things like acupuncture. And the good news is all of those services are available at Form and Function. So if you've never tried any of this stuff before, if you've failed stretching, if you tried other places and it just sounds like I've never done that before and you want to check it out, it's absolutely available. So we would love to help you get some of this tension and stress and tissue length under control. So we said the Cobra could be effective, but more or less what we were really trying to get at was a lot of hip flexor stretching. So there's a few different ways to do it, and I'm not going to go get into the details, but you can easily find some very good hip flexor stretches online. I'm not going to go into the depths of how long. Well, I'll give you just some basics. Sometimes you'll see a lot of these kind of stretches either be too short, too long, or too few reps. For me, our kind of gold standard baseline of any stretch is 6 20-second holds. That gets us to 2 minutes total on stretch. So there's elastic deformation and something called plastic deformation. Elastic is basically that rubber band that you stretch and it returns to the same length. Plastic is you hold it long enough where it actually, when you're done stretching, you've made a permanent change in it. If we've got some permanent shortening in our tissues, then we need time on tension. We need longer stretches. We need higher reps. So we're maybe even considering going to 5 1-minute holds to get into that plastic deformation if those tissues are actually permanently shortened. Well, how would I know that? Well, that's where you actually have to get a professional involved. So I love to give you guys as much advice as possible, but some of it's just absolutely impossible to do these things without the supervision of a professional. You just can't give this information away and think it's going to help absolutely everybody. We personalize almost every last one of our programs to our clients because clients from one to the next are not the same. So we've got to do something to make this right for the individual. And so we've got to have the opportunity to be able to look and diagnose and present and offer and prescribe the right level, the right tool, the right intensity, the right approach to get you the ultimate outcome. So if that's something that you've been missing, once again, I'd love to get you through my clinic. It's getting increasingly hard to get an appointment because it is becoming such a popular method, and people have kind of slowly over the years determined that the method of physical therapy that's currently out is just not what's going to get them that outcome because they just don't do what we do. So we've worked on the hip flexor stretch. The secondary thing that we want to do is get up to those shoulders. So that neck and shoulder issue that we start to see at the 6-week mark, the easiest way to get into exercise load for your son or daughter who's dealing with some neck or shoulder soreness from getting back to school will be a simple shoulder circle. So I'll describe this in a somewhat of a decent detail. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out, but just have them stand and get into something that I like to call horse stance. So horse stance is just standing with your feet flat, lightly wider than shoulder width, unlock the knees. So it's almost like if you're sitting in the saddle. So you're in that horse stance and you pull your belly button in and engage your core. Now extend your arms out to the side like a T and turn your palms up to the ceiling. And what I want you to do is gently, maybe 20%, pull your shoulder blades back. So if you pull them all the way back at 100%, then take it back a little more than halfway. You're going to be in there around that 20-25% range. And then I want you to slowly do a reverse arm circle. So that right arm is going into clockwise and the left arm is going counterclockwise in that reverse. And then set a timer. I want you to start to build that to 1 minute. Why is a minute more important than just how many circles I do? Well, we talked about postural muscles being aerobic, and they should be able to have tolerance over time. So we're going to have to treat something aerobically. So anaerobic is like I'm building muscle. I want to get mass. So I may do something like a pyramid of reps of 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, and constantly be increasing my load. With something like these arm circles, I don't really want load, but I want a lot of time and reps, and I want those tissues to begin to burn. So if you've been doing this exercise while we're talking, the likelihood is you've already started to get burn in your shoulders, in your traps, in your upper back, and that's good. I want you to get a good solid 5, 6, 7 out of 10 intensity burn in those shoulders before you give up. And now, as you continue to do it, you'll keep an eye on that timer and see if you can't extend that period before the arms begin to burn. So if I can build up some endurance in some of these tissues, then my postural endurance is going to be better. My recovery time of getting into a position, getting out of it, going back into it is going to be better. I'm going to have better recovery. So build those shoulders aerobically. I've saved one of the best subjects for last when it comes to back to school, and it's always in regards to the backpack. So we're actually seeing, there was a minute where the school bags were starting to get empty. And now my son's actually now a sophomore in high school, and I'm seeing it get loaded back up with textbooks, binders. They need notebooks for each individual class, and it's starting to get some heft to it. And the question usually becomes, well, what's an appropriate amount of weight for your kid to tote around school? Now, you'll see some general rules of thumb, and there's actually a range of everywhere where you look online. And usually what you'll see is 10 to 20% of their body weight is okay to tote around. And what I'd say is 20% might be a bit excessive, but what you also want to take into consideration is the health and muscle mass of your kid. So if you already know your kid is otherwise kind of not the most athletically gifted, that they don't carry a ton of muscle mass, they may be a little more slender, or they may be a little on the chunky side and hold a little more body fat, don't necessarily have a ton of tone, then you know what? That child might be on the side of going a little bit lighter because they don't have the capacity to tolerate load. If your son is athletic, or your child or your daughter is athletic, and they lift weights and they play sports and they actually have really good muscle mass, then their ability and tolerance to carry weight might be closer to that 20% body weight. So if you're thinking about my kid weighing about 130 pounds, that 10% is going to be about a 13-pound backpack, and double that for a more athletic child. So up to 26-pound backpack. If they're toting around 30, 40 plus pounds, then the likelihood is they're probably going to be dealing with some excessive stress in the shoulders, arms, upper back, legs. Eventually this starts to compress and you start to see a chain reaction coming down to the knees. So important to make sure that, one, we get a properly fitted backpack. And what does that mean? So we got to make sure that load sits somewhere up closer to the small of the back. If there's a waist strap, optimally, if you're carrying something really heavy, you might want to consider a backpack that has a waist strap where you can carry a bit more of the load into the hips rather than having to tote it all from the shoulders. Secondarily, I mean, when I was a kid, it was a lot of one-arm backpack carrying. We got to make sure if you're carrying a load that's up near these tolerances, up near this 10-20%, that both shoulder straps get on and we can balance this load out. So hopefully those are some simple guidelines and rules of thumb you can follow. If you have any questions in regards to backpack fitting or weight, or, hey, is there a conditioning program we can get because that load isn't going to be able to go down and we can't minimize the amount of load that they're having to lug through school? Is there a way I can help my child condition to be able to tote that wet backpack and they've got a big old walk home, then yeah, reach out. I'd be happy to share some information and some guidelines of some self-care that you guys can get into to help your child's school year go absolutely pain-free and great. Well, that wraps up the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about our promotions that we've got going on. So our promotion of the month for this month is a PEMF demo. What is PEMF? That's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. So we use a guided version of this PEMF unit called the Electrons Plus. So we'll use a plate to drive a magnetic field into our client's body, and then us, the practitioners, are the conduit to move that field through the patient's body. So if they're dealing with, let's say, a neck or shoulder issue, since we've talked about backpacks and necks in school, we'll have that plate that the patient is sitting on, and we'll move our hands along the neck to move that field out. Well, what does it feel like? Well, there may be a tingle or a tap or a buzz in that region, almost akin to like a TENS unit, but so much more is happening with PEMF. We're getting a lot more blood flow, circulation, nutrition to tissues. We're applying energy for the cells to help repair at a faster rate. So if there's damage or inflammation, we can ease that. And it's an amazing experience, particularly with the neck. In fact, this last week, we were out at a community event for the workers of Costco, the local Costco store here. And believe it or not, the thing that we did the most demos on and people had the most complaint about was neck. And so in as little as 2 minutes, we can identify different structures that maybe don't move that field around and are probably a problem area, or have eased some tension. So people within as little as 2 minutes are turning their head left and right, side bending left and right, with a whole lot more freedom of movement than they were as little as 2 minutes prior. So if you've never tried it, we've got that demo going on. It's $35 only to check out what PEMF can do for you. So it's not just necks, it can be backs and feet and knees and shoulders and elbows and carpal tunnel, and the list goes on. So if you've got an issue, you're not sure PEMF can help, reach out. We'll let you know if it can. If so, book that demo for $35 at Form and Function Physical Therapy. Well, you found out what the promo of the month was. What is your product of the month? And this is another one that's going to help those neck and shoulders, and that is our PillowWise product. So PillowWise is straight from the Netherlands and has been one of the most positively reviewed items that we've ever had our hands on. So in the history of having PillowWise, we've had 0 unhappy customers. And why is that? Because we custom fit this pillow to your body shape. We take shoulder width, neck height, and neck circumference measurements, and based on the sleep position and the firmness of your mattress, an algorithm built out by the PillowWise company tells us the type of sleep surface that you need. So if you are looking for a better pillow, if you're looking to replace the pillow that you got, and maybe it's time to do something a little more custom to your body shape and how you sleep, then PillowWise is your answer. Come check out PillowWise at Form and Function PT. And for our health tip and trick of the month, I want to refer you over to our blog over at formfunctionpt.com. And in this topic, we want to cover, is sitting really that bad for you? So I want you to go check that one out. I'm pretty sure you know the answer. Just recently in the last 5 years, they've associated sitting to be as bad as smoking is for you. So is sitting the new smoking? Well, go check out the blog and find out what's really happening with all this excess sitting and how it's having an effect on your physical and emotional health. Go check that out at formfunctionpt.com. Thanks everybody for listening. Tune in to all of our other episodes. If you haven't been a listener for a while, go back, check out the previous ones. Give us a shout out, give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we can help better provide more content to you and get you the information that you're really looking for. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a review. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on social media. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of our day and letting us be a part of yours. So we'll see you on the next one.